want to introduce our pastor, who is our servant leader of more than 4,000 members in his congregation here at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church. He's a social activist. He's a leader. He is a co-founder of Greater Cleveland Congregation, who I'm sure y'all have heard many, many good things about changing the community in a positive way. He's also a co-founder of the Interfaith Group Against Hate, IGAH. We're dealing with issues, community issues and social issues that especially this new administration has brought upon all of us. And we want to make sure we say thank you to our pastor for that. He's a graduate of Morehouse, so he's a proud alumni to tell you, Morehouse, that's what he do, okay? He graduated from Union Theological Seminary. He's a graduate, got his doctorate degree from Columbia University. We love him and know him as our pastor here at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church. Welcome, 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 our pastor, the great Reverend Dr. Jawanza Kareem Colvin.
I'm not Dr. Colvin, but he's coming. But really quick, before our pastor comes to speak, I just wanted to just have a quick program overview. You should have gotten a program when you came through the door. So basically, what we're going to do is you're going to get a lot of information. We have our keynote speaker, which is Kirsty Muncie. We have our feature speaker, Anna Bex. We will have a panel discussion. We will have artistic expression. We will also have a break this morning, and we'll have lunch. But also I wanted to tell you, because you'll be getting so much valuable information, if you feel that any of the information that you're receiving, you feel any sort of way of being distressed, emotional, or just feel you just need to get up and leave the sanctuary, that is completely fine. We have ushers here who can escort you to a quiet place where you can regroup and then come back and join us whenever you feel comfortable. We're not going to read you the complete speaker's bio. You will find that in your program. And there has been a slight change to our program. For our panel discussion today, we will have Linda Powers, who is from the Ohio Attorney General's Office. Some of you may have attended the Ohio Summit on Human Trafficking. That was her baby. So she will be joining us today on our panel discussion after lunch. Also, we have educational resources in the lobby. We have the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center, as well as Canopy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our pastor, Colvin.
Good morning. I want to thank each and every one of you for being with us on a beautiful Saturday morning for a very serious topic and issue. Before I move forward, I have to take just a few moments to recognize those who have made this possible this morning, this entire symposium. This is not something that has come about overnight. As a matter of fact, it is something that has been in the works for quite a few months, and it is the result of a great deal of collaboration, intention, scheduling to manifest what we are going to experience on today. So I want to take just a moment to recognize Reverend Rogers King and Sister Denise Sherney, who are the leaders of our social justice ministry. I'm going to ask them to stand once again so we can just acknowledge them for their leadership. While they remain standing, I want all of the members of our social justice ministry to please stand. All the members of our social justice ministry to please stand. Thank you as you take your seats. This is one of our newest ministries at our church. It is a ministry that is born out of a history since 1931 and a legacy of this church being engaged in civil rights and social justice. And so it's in our DNA. It is who we are as a congregation, who we are and have been in this community as our friends come in, and they'll probably continue to come in from all of our doors, so we welcome them as they make their way, has been a part of who this church has been for the balance of its existence. The institutional in the name Olivet Institutional Baptist Church is an intentional term. The Reverend Dr. Odie Hoover, who was the fourth pastor of this church, renamed this church the Olivet Institutional Baptist Church because the institutional Baptist church movement was born out of the social gospel movement. The social gospel movement was a movement that recognized the spirituality of Christianity and Jesus Christ, but recognized that it was important that the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven not just stay in heaven. As it says in the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so the institutional Baptist church movement was an attempt to institutionalize the Christian mission to reach out, to engage in community beyond your four walls through the work of social outreach and social justice. And so our social justice ministry is something that is a coming together of all the work that you have seen this church do over the years, those who are members of those who might have heard about, including, as you mentioned most recently, our work with Greater Cleveland Congregations and the Interfaith Group Against Hate. I am so deeply inspired already about what's going to take place on today. Last week, our reading ministry came together to have a book discussion around the book titled Democracy in Black. Democracy in Black, written by Dr. Eddie Glaw, professor of African American studies at Princeton University. We were privileged to have Dr. Glaw provide a video from Princeton to us reflecting on that book. And in his title and in his talk with us, he talked about something called the value gap. And the value gap, I want you to understand, is a wonderful framing for understanding society, understanding our country, understanding power dynamics and how the world operates. And he says that the value gap simply is an understanding that some things are more important than others, that some people are treated more special than others. See, it was the value gap that caused slave ships to invade the western coast of Africa and to enchain Africans and put them in bondage. It was the value gap that on the auction block separated them from one another, from their families, from their children, from their spouses. It was the value gap that took away their language, their native culture, their native tongue, and took the names they had been given through the lineages of their mothers and their fathers and their forebears and their ancestors in the nation states of the Igbo and the Yoruba and all of the Asante and all of the other nation states in West Africa, and where that culture was taken from them and they were given other names. It was the value gap that led to the Trail of Tears, where the U.S. Army forcibly removed indigenous people from their homes and forced them to non-arable land, and where they were meant to die in places like Oklahoma. It was the value gap that led to the normalization schools, where those who survived, their children were placed in schools where their culture was ripped from them and they were forced to accept a new identity, a new name, a new place, and a new second-class citizenship in this new nation. The value gap simply says that you don't matter, that your life doesn't matter, your Your personhood does not matter. I was here, we've been here, Allison and I and our family have been here for 16 years, a little over 16 years. And I remember what was in the news those 16 years ago was the reporting about the imperial women. And some of you all remember the imperial women. 12 women who had literally fallen out of existence. No one was looking for them in powerful positions. They were lost to their families and their cries were not heard. And we found that there had been a system failure. The community had failed them. Our public officials, our elected officials, law enforcement, the rape crisis centers had failed them because they didn't matter. You've ever seen the movie? There's a movie called Taken. There's a movie called Taken. It is the movie, it's a series of films about a girl, a white girl, who her parents are loving and they are supportive and they are caring, and she falls into human trafficking. And she falls into human trafficking, and those who are about to take her are coming to her room to snag her, and she's on the phone with her father. And as she's on the phone with her father says, "It's going to be okay, because no matter where you are, I'm going to find you." We are living in a time where we have people that are being taken. We have people that are literally being taken out of our communities, being taken off the street. And we have at least the appearance that nobody cares, that nobody is looking for them, that nobody really gives a damn. And so we draw today as this church and this community with our very special guests who will be lending their expertise and lending their insights to us. We draw on a great tradition. A few weeks ago, while I was on vacation, we were on vacation, family, we were driving from Cleveland down to Cincinnati. And as we were driving down Cincinnati off the highway, we could see the Underground Railroad National Center. And not only that, as we passed the Underground Railroad National Museum and Research Center, we passed by the Ohio River. And if anyone knows the story of the Ohio River, the Ohio River separates Ohio and Kentucky. And if you can just make it from Kentucky across the Ohio River into Ohio, you would be free. And so it took a network of people, a network of churches, a network of formerly enslaved, a network of Quakers, a network of abolitionists to come together to create a pathway, to create a system that you could help people that were captured, people that were enslaved, find freedom. I'm hoping that today that's what we can do. Maybe we can establish in this conversation, we can expand an overground railroad, that we can come together as churches, as elected officials, as public leaders, as those who have been invested either through foundations or investment by our state dollars in order to create a network to get somebody free. Get somebody free. And so I want to thank our speakers. I know that you have very busy professional lives, and this is what you do each and every day. So we want to thank you for already expending yourself on this Saturday. So you are welcome. You are invited to be fully engaged. As they say, I want you to lean in. I want you to lean in. Also, I just want to make a note that this is being live streamed. It is being live streamed on our Facebook, our YouTube, our OIBC app, our OIBC.org website, so on all of our platforms. So one of the things that you can do right now, you can't announce that until you actually do it, because if you announce it, people won't show up. So what I want you to do before we lean into this more deeply, just text somebody, let some people know that who might have wanted to be here or you think needs this information that they can watch. We'll be posting it on, and it's streaming even right now. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over and back into the hands of our esteemed moderators, Reverend King and Sister Sherney, and let's lean in and let's figure out what we can do. God bless you and have a good day this morning.
Well, that's pastor is amazing as usual, is he not? Amen. He's always educating and teaching us. First, I want to let you know that Sister Marquise Frost will come up and she will introduce Miss Kirsty Muncy as a speaker, and then Stephanie Phelps, where is she at? Here is the moderator for the Q&A process of this. I want to let you know that there is a video that will be showing, as Sister Denise alluded to earlier, that may spark some emotions in you that you may not want to have. You do have the opportunity to walk out. We understand and absolutely appreciate that if you have to do that. But we want you to know here at Olivet that wherever you are, wherever you've come from, whatever you have been, there's hope here today at Olivet. You can be blessed no matter what. The grass withers, the flowers may fade, but the word of God shall live forever. Amen. May this symposium express that love of God, that you will be encouraged and strengthened to continue on the fight and never give up. Thank you, Sister Marquise. Yeah, that's the video. The video is the circuit. So yes, that's the video. And that's why. So if you have any trouble with the video, you have any concerns, you can have it step out. Is that okay?
Please don't take your joy from me. Brand new mercy side.
You don't have parents anymore. Whether you like it or not, you are my property. You don't have parents anymore. Whether you like it or not, you are my property.
Who does she think she is? I don't like her. Move.
This all good?
Yes, Daddy.
What you thinking about? You ever think about escaping? I ain't got nowhere to go. I see girls come and leave, but I love him. This is home. You want to go? If you try to run, he'll find you. Pray to God he doesn't.
Okay, you remember the rules? No negotiating, no small talk. Not if you understand. Good. Let's go.
Party of 4. Right on time. Come in. Party's here. Right, yeah, calm down. Filthy animals. How old?
16 and 17.
That's older than we agreed.
You want younger girls, you gotta pay me more money. You know that.
What are the names?
That's Blondie, Jewel, and Red.
Guys, this is Blondie, her friends Jewel and Red.
Hi. Hello.
Right, we're on the big bus.
I got money.
Get it. Once in.
Come on, take it out, guys.
Once in. We got bucks.
You ready, baby?
Yes, Daddy. How'd y'all meet? Online. Social media. That's how he recruits a lot of his females. I thought I was gonna be his wife. We're all his wives now, girl. That wasn't the plan.
Hi.
Hi.
You two look really beautiful.
Thank you.
You remind me of my daughters. How old are you?
16.
Stand up. Stand up. That's a very fashionable dress. I'd like it better if it was off and on the ground.
ready for the next one?
1 minute. Blondie, what are you doing? I'm going home. Ma.
Are you ready?
Hold on.
What the fuck are you doing? Give me that. You are gonna regret this. Get up. Red, come here.
What the fuck, man?
We're leaving.
You can't leave. I paid for an entire night.
Right now. Anyone tries to follow us, you get a bullet straight to the head. You got it?
Okay.
Pack all your shit. It's time to go. Shut the fuck up and do it now. You got 5 minutes.
What you do now?
We caught her on the phone with her parents.
Did you talk to them?
Yeah.
Lucky you.
I can't remember the last time I heard my father's voice.
Time's up. Let's go. Take your girls to the Vegas circuit. You go to Portland. We're headed south. See you in a few weeks. Let's go.
That John really let you use his phone?
I took it.
Really?
Yeah.
That was badass.
It was worth it.
I hope that happens to me one day.
Red. Get in there. Change your clothes. Blondie. That was a stupid thing you did back there.
No one is ever gonna find you.
Especially now.
Where are you taking us?
Mexico. Got a few friends down there that are just dying for some American pussy. And you are gonna make me a lot of money. You don't have parents anymore.
Whether you like it or not, you are my property. If you try calling them again, I will fly to your house and put a bullet between their eyes.
Good morning. I know that was a bit to digest. I'm still digesting. If anyone at this time needs to step out, take a moment, please do so. My name is Marquise Frost, and I am a member of the Olivet Social Justice Ministry Committee. I now want to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Kirsty Muncy. She is the president and CEO of the Collaborative to End Human Trafficking, where she leads efforts to catalyze a collective community response to human trafficking in Cuyahoga County. Under her leadership, the Collaborative elevates awareness and understanding, advocates for effective policies and resources, and coordinates Cuyahoga County's anti-human trafficking coalition called the Greater Cleveland Coordinated Response to Human Trafficking. With deep commitment to systematic change, Kirsty works to ensure that the region's response to trafficking is coordinated, survivor-centered, and rooted in best practices. Kirsty served as Chief Program Officer at the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center, where she spent 15 years developing innovative programs for survivors of rape, sexual abuse, human trafficking. A passionate advocate for trauma-informed, person-centered care, she trains and consults across multidisciplinary industries to promote practices that support survivors and advance social change. Kirsty's lived experience as a woman with a disability and an immigrant informs her leadership and advocacy. Her contributions have been recognized nationally, including receiving the Visionary Voice Award from the National Sexual Violence Resource Center in 2016, and induction into the Case Western Reserve University Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel School of Applied Social Services Hall of Achievement in 2017. That was a mouthful. Wonderful. She continues to shape the next generation of social workers as an adjunct professor at Case Western Reserve University. Kirsty holds a master's degree in social work and from Cleveland State University, and is a licensed independent social worker supervisor in Ohio. Everyone, please welcome Kirsty Muncy.
Good morning, everyone. I am not standing here by myself this morning. I have Andrea Mittman-Thomas with me. Andrea is a member of the Collaborative Survivor Advisory Council, now committee. We should start using that term because we've made some tremendous changes. So please welcome Andrea to the stage as well. Thank you. Do we have the PowerPoint? We do have a PowerPoint this morning, so. Oh, okay, right here. Sure. Sorry. Oh, there it is. Yay. Okay. Oh, we don't need it. Okay. We don't need it. That's great. I love it. So, I want to start by saying thank you for being here this morning. This is a topic that is really, really difficult to talk about, really difficult to dialogue over, really difficult to hear, but here you are. This room is full of people who are interested in hearing more about an issue that is in the shadows in our society, and I'm so grateful. You are blessed with many of the experts in our space that are speaking with you today. My hope for you this morning is that you are learning what human trafficking looks like in our community, that you're learning that this is something we can eradicate, that we can work on together. We have control and power over what sometimes feels like very powerless. We're together, and again, we're so grateful that you're here today. So our keynote this morning is giving you a teaser of our fundamentals of human trafficking training. So we're making this really short. If you're interested in the full training, we do them monthly, virtually. They are free to anyone attending, but I know you will get a lot of the information this morning from the incredible experts that are in the room. So again, you heard who I am. I'm Kirsty Muncy. I'm the president and CEO at the Collaborative. I've been in this role for the last 5 years, and what a wild ride it has been. I've been tasked by the board of directors of the Collaborative to lead an organization that is increasing our community's capacity to human trafficking, increasing our community's capacities to something that we can't really see, that we can't measure, that we can't really fully understand. So this analogy of we're flying a plane that we're building every day is truly what I do every day, flying this plane that we are building. And again, we're so grateful you're coming alongside us, building this plane together. So the Collaborative to End Human Trafficking is in our community in Cuyahoga County to increase our capacity to end human trafficking. Our vision, and this might not be in my lifetime, not be in my children's lifetime, but at some point we hope that there is a world free of human trafficking. We lead, we educate, and we empower our community to get there at some point. The Collaborative was founded in 2007 here in Cuyahoga County to do what we do today, which is educate, raise awareness, and again, build our community's capacity to respond. We lead a community network, or what we call an anti-human trafficking coalition of over 75 organizations. Let that sink in. 75 organizations, and you have many of them here. You have the Case Law Clinic here. You have the Ohio Attorney Generals here. You have Metro Health represented. You will hear from our Human Trafficking Task Force. We're very lucky in Cuyahoga County to have a strong law enforcement task force comprised of many levels of law enforcement to tackle this issue. We have social service organizations like the Rape Crisis Center, like Canopy Child Advocacy Center, and many others who are joining us in this work because they recognize that human trafficking survivors are in their midst, and we have to do better in serving them, recognizing them, and providing them a path into freedom. So the Collaborative, again, was founded in 2007, and it started with awareness and education because we really didn't fully understand what this issue looks like. We have learned a lot, and again, you will hear today from the experts what we have learned and where we are. But I can tell you that we have a long, long, long way to go. And I think I've already heard a theme, which is no individual and no organization and no system can do this work alone. This work requires collaboration and collective action. That is what we're here for. Every single person, every organization, every system has a role to play in increasing our community's capacity and ultimately supporting survivors. So we already heard that this is difficult information to digest, so I also want to encourage you to keep breathing throughout the day, to step away when you feel like your brain is sort of clicking in that space where you can't think or feel, you're sort of numbing out. Take a step, walk away, take a walk outside, look at your phone, whatever it is you need to do. Try to stay in your prefrontal lobe, in your thinking brain for the day. If you feel like your amygdala is taking over a lot, take a walk outside, get some sunshine, because that's not the place we want you to be in. We want you to stay grounded and present, but we know that takes a lot of breathing, little bilateral stimulation if you want to do that, whatever it is for you. We encourage you to please take really good care of yourself. So, as I said, we're going to walk you through some of our slides of our fundamentals of human trafficking training. And so we always begin the presentation. You already had the benefit of seeing some things about what human trafficking is, but we always start our presentation by asking the audience to bring up some of the mental pictures that you have about what you think human trafficking is, and to associate those mental images to where they're coming from. Is it the movie Taken? Pastor talked about it. It's one of the most prominent movies that has the term human trafficking attached. I think there's 4, 5 of them now. So what is that for you? When you hear the term human trafficking, what pictures come up? Is it the bloody hand? Is it children in basements? Is it young girls on the streets of Cleveland? Whatever it is for you, just hold that picture for a moment and see where it's coming from. Where have you learned that that is what human trafficking is? And then again, I want to invite you today to see if that shifts for you, if that changes, if that image evolves. And if you walk out today at 3 or 4 today and that image has changed, because that's what we are hoping to do today with this symposium. So hold that image, keep it there with you, and see how it evolves. But I want to kind of take a big step, and again, Pastor, thank you for setting the stage on giving us some historical information on what we're really talking about. And actually, before I even jump into that, I should just tell you what the definition of human trafficking is. The definition of human trafficking that we have agreed upon as a country, as a state, as a coalition, is the illegal exploitation of a human being through force, fraud, or coercion by someone else for their own financial gain. So let's hold that again. Let's hold that picture we have, and let's hold that definition. Human trafficking is defined as the illegal exploitation of a human being through force, fraud, and coercion for the purpose of labor or sexual activity, right? That's the legal definition that we have. So where is this coming from, right? Human trafficking, the exploitation of human beings for others' financial gain is, as Pastor said, the story of humankind. It's always been there in various forms. If you come to one of our trainings, we'll go into it deeper. But there was a tremendous shift in the United States that uplifted this issue, and that was the Trafficking Protection Act that was passed in 2000. So again, I want to just kind of make note, 2000, it is 2025. That is 25 years only that human trafficking has been an illegal crime defined by the federal government. So we've really been at this issue of human trafficking for only 25 years. But this law was significant. It's a very significant law that sprang into action many of the coalitions, many of the services that you see today in our country, and especially, of course, in Cuyahoga County, where people said, okay, we have now the legal definition. This is something we need to do something about, and we can. And so, again, this law was instrumental. You see some other laws, and certainly you have the experts. You have Maya here from the Case Law Clinic, and we have Linda Powers here from the Ohio Attorney General's office who can flush this out further for you. But state law did not follow until 2011, 2016. So it's taken us a long time for states to follow and make this illegal, and we're still doing lots and lots of work to change law, to bring legislation to a place where we'd like it to be. But the Trafficking Victim Protection Act was very important. And I also want to point out that what's unique about this issue of human trafficking, which you recognize as a social justice issue, a human rights issue, that these issues usually don't come top down from the federal government. They're usually issues that are on the ground. Like, let's take the rape crisis movement in which I grew up in, right? The rape crisis movement was a movement where advocates and survivors stood together and said, we have to advocate for better services, for better laws. We have to do that from the ground up. And it trickled up into laws. Here, we have a very top-down approach where law said, this is now a law, and services and service providers and survivors, you need to catch up. So we're doing this a little bit different, but we are doing it. We are doing it. But the law certainly has helped, and you will again hear how it has helped law enforcement to prosecute and investigate and arrest. But again, we're catching up to make sure that services for survivors are on par with those things. Sorry. So here again, when we think about the federal law, it distinguishes and sort of gives us two buckets, which is often sex trafficking and labor trafficking. The more we learn about human trafficking and the exploitation of humans is that they come together. We often find that people who are exploited for both things at the same time, for the labor and for sex at the same time. But when we look at the law, it is distinguished. I also want to make a point that the law is very clear that anyone under the age of 18 who's involved in the commercial sex industry is automatically a survivor of human trafficking. So we do not need to show that there's force, fraud, or coercion present. Children are not prostitutes. Children are victims of human trafficking. So it's a very important distinction that we need to make, and the law is helping us identify that. So when we take a closer look, check with Andrea when she we have this pretty well rehearsed, but we're making some changes today, so I apologize. So again, when you look at what some of those buckets mean, right? You see what is fraud, what is coercion, and what is a threat. And again, you will learn much more about that today as the day goes on, and you will certainly be able to ask lots of questions about that. But we have to take a closer look, and we have to think about and break those terms down. There's often violence, there's manipulation, there is expectations and promises of a better life. There's promises of food, there's promises of support, there's promises of love that are deeply connected to those things. At the Collaborative to End Human Trafficking, we have done a lot of work to really shift the issue of human trafficking from a criminal framework into a public health framework. So I will rely on Anna Bex from Metro to tell you much, much more about how do we identify victims and who is vulnerable to this crime. But I do want to set the stage to say that we recognize human trafficking as a public health issue because the underlying causes, like you saw in the video, are not the kidnapping of people because someone feels like committing a crime. There are many, many vulnerabilities that contribute. And trauma, pre-existing trauma, neglect, pre-existing abuse, substance abuse issues, mental health issues are often these root causes that lead someone to a place where others feel like they can exploit them. And so we at the Collaborative have taken a tremendous step into the prevention space and to think about how can we prevent human trafficking, not just by prosecuting and arresting, but by looking at where do people fall into the river of trafficking and how can we eradicate it in the first place. So again, as we go through this day today, let's talk about the big spectrum of how we can intervene on this issue, from law enforcement, from acknowledging that this is an issue that goes into deep vulnerabilities of us as a community, as a country, as humans, and how can we help people build resiliency towards an issue that is very difficult to eradicate. So this is my time now where I'm going to bring Andrea up to the podium, and Andrea's going to help me keep walking us through this presentation. I think you heard earlier that one of the things that the collaborative deeply, deeply believes in is uplifting the voices of people with lived experience and collaborating with people with lived experience, because that is something that got lost in the top-down approach of the Trafficking Prevention Act. And so we do have a council of incredible individuals who have lived experience in this area, and we always collaborate in our presentations. So Andrea, if you want to say anything else, please do, and then I'm going to have you help me for the next slides.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So at this time, for this particular part of the discussion, I want to give you an opportunity to read the slide that is now above. I'll give you a few minutes just to read it, an overview of it. So this slide is a scenario that was presented for a young lady by the name of Alyssa. By 17, Alyssa sought refuge from her unstable home environment, making her more susceptible to exploitation. When she met Marcus, he appeared to fill the gaps in her life, offering emotional support, a place to stay, and material gifts. What seemed to be kindness and care was actually grooming, a deliberate process traffickers use to build trust, dependency, while concealing their exploitive intentions. Alyssa's situation illustrates how trafficking doesn't always involve abduction, as we saw in the movies Taken, or even in the movie that we just saw with the circuit, but it also it could be overt violence. It could start subtle and use manipulative behavior in everyday context. Couch surfing, most common survival strategy for our young people in unstable homes, can put them at risk for encountering traffickers who often use their help for other ulterior motives. And Marcus wasn't a stranger lurking in the shadows. He was someone that Alyssa happened to trust, which is often the case in most trafficking situations. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the grooming process traffickers use to control their victims. Traffickers are highly skilled at identifying vulnerabilities and exploiting them. They often appear charming, helpful, and caring, but these behaviors are calculating to gain trust and create dependency. And by leveraging fears, unmet needs, and insecurities, traffickers manipulate victims into situations that are inescapable. The grooming process follows a predictable pattern, but it can vary depending on the individual and their situations. You can see the patterns on the slides. Identifying vulnerable people, traffickers target individuals who are isolated, experiencing financial instability, dealing with past traumas, and even seeking connection. They gain trust and collect information, and they use this trust to learn about the person's fears, their needs, their desires, and information that they may use later on to manipulate them. The trafficker often presents themselves as the solution to an unmet need, whether it's housing, money, emotional support, or even stability that they don't have. Once the trust is established, traffickers work to isolate the victim from friends, family, or support systems, making them more dependent on them. At this stage, the trafficker begins to use the person for labor or commercial sex while maintaining that control. Through those fears, threats, and psychological manipulation, the trafficker ensures that the victim remains compliant and trapped. Traffickers are experts at altering a victim's perception of what their reality actually is, and they can create a false sense of loyalty or love to maintain control. Traffickers convince the victim that they know that no one else can help them or care for them. Traffickers use shame or guilt to make the victim feel like they play a part in their own exploitation. And the grooming does not trap someone physically. It creates a psychological bond that are very difficult to break. Even when the exploitation ends, survivors often struggle with guilt, shame, and the mistrust because of the emotional manipulation that they have experienced. And this is why trauma-informed care is essential to their recovery. That's okay. Within months, Marcus moved from building the trust and the dependency to actively coercing Alyssa to engage in commercial sex. Now take a moment to read the next step of this case study on the screen. This is the point where the grooming process transitions into full exploitation. Alyssa's situation highlights the layers of coercion that traffickers use to trap their victims. Marcus began to exert control through emotional manipulation. Marcus likely exploited her feelings of loyalty and obligation. He used threats. The fear of retaliation against her siblings kept her compliant in the situation, and physical violence. This reinforced her perception that escape was impossible. And traffickers are skilled at identifying what their victims care about most and weaponizing those concerns to maintain this control. The role of these systematic barriers, Alyssa lacked the financial independence. She also had minimal education and social isolation, which compounded her vulnerability. She did not have the resources or the supports systems to lead Marcus, even if she wanted to. These systematic barriers are often what traffickers rely on to sustain their exploitation of each victim. Marcus' tactics of moving Alyssa between neighborhoods and cities served multiple purposes. It made it harder for law enforcement to track and identify the trafficking. It increased Alyssa's isolation, furthering cutting her off from potential sources of help. And the mobility is a common strategy that traffickers use to evade detection while maximizing their profits. Alyssa felt trapped, not because there were literal changes, but because the psychological and logistic barriers seemed insurmountable. She likely did not see herself as a victim, which is common amongst trafficking survivors. Without outside intervention or support, victims of Alyssa's situation often feel that there is no way out. All right. This slide, we're going to talk about trauma-coerced attachment. And this may sound familiar to some, but it's often referred to as Stockholm Syndrome or a trauma bond. The victim forms an emotional attachment, not because the relationship is healthy or safe, but because it helps them to survive. It's the brain's way of finding safety and connection even in dangerous and harmful situations. As humans, we're wired to seek connection and attachment, especially in times of crisis and trauma. When someone like Marcus in Alyssa's story provides small moments of kindness, love, or support, whether real or fake, it creates a sense of loyalty and dependency. Over time, the victims may feel gratitude, love, or even protection from the person who is exploiting them. This is the part of what keeps them trapped. Think of it as a survival mode. If someone saves you from drowning, you might feel gratitude, even if it's the same person who pushed you in the water. It's a way of mentally and emotionally coping with a scary or unsafe situation. Trauma-coerced attachment is a survival tool. It helps people navigate and endure extreme situations by finding ways to emotionally stabilize themselves. In Alyssa's case, believing Marcus loved or cared for her might have been what kept her going when she felt trapped and isolated. This ability to adapt emotionally is a form of resilience, an incredible strength that helped her survive, to wonder why they didn't leave, but understand trauma, coercion, attachment shows us why that is not always that simple. Victims often feel emotionally torn. They may still feel for or feel loyalty to the trafficker, even while being harmed. And recognizing this will help us approach survivors with compassion and understanding rather than judgment. For survivors, understanding that this attachment was a survival strategy, not a reflection of weakness, is an important step in healing. It is a superpower that allowed them to get through an unimaginable situation, and is something that we can honor as a part of their journey. The statements on the screen are some of what individuals might say about that person that they are trauma bonded to.
Ooh, again, this is a lot of information, but it is important for us to walk you through some of those systemic barriers that survivors experience, all the way from the systemic barriers that they experience in their home, like Alyssa, barriers in her own family that made her vulnerable to exploitation, all the way to ongoing systemic barriers. So often in this part of the presentations, our hands are coming up and people are saying, okay, well, great, but how many people are impacted by this? Is this a lot of people? You know, is it just one? Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it thousands? And I'm here to say that we can't confidently answer that question yet. We're working very hard on answering that. But what we do know is that these vulnerabilities that Alyssa in our case study experienced, that Andrea just talked about, are vast and significant. So when we talk about human trafficking, we have to think about some of those statistics. So numbers that we are very confident of are, for example, that 83% of persons trafficked experience poverty. Grow up in poverty, have a significant impact on their socioeconomic status. 96% of persons who are trafficked have experienced pre-existing abuse, often sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, severe neglect. Again, this pre-existing abuse leads to traffickers being easily able to establish control and dependency in this trauma bond. It is much easier to exploit someone who already has been significantly traumatized and hurt in previous experiences. So it is important to note that these vulnerabilities often overlap. Poverty can lead to homelessness, which can increase exploitation. Abuse can result in mental health challenges, which traffickers use to manipulate victims. and substance abuse may be a coping mechanism for trauma, which traffickers often exacerbate, you know what I mean, to maintain control. So again, we are very aware of these vulnerabilities and these root causes, and that goes back to that public health issue where tackling them is very important. So you see, right, that river that I talked about. Human trafficking prevention doesn't necessarily mean being law enforcement, being a lawyer and working with clients in the criminal justice system. Doesn't mean to be an amazing nurse like Anna Bex and supporting people bedside. But it can mean to look out for the people in our communities who are lonely, who are struggling with isolation, who are not connected to networks, who are in foster care, who are struggling with their home life. Those are the people we need to wrap our arms around and to support, which is human trafficking prevention as much as anything else. So that's a big topic, and I know you will talk about it more this afternoon, but we did want to bring it up to you as something to keep thinking about and to challenge so that picture that you might have about the movie Taken and some of the other stereotypes that we're trying to debunk here in this training. I also want to just put up a quick slide of the typologies of trafficking. So this is another question that people often have. Well, where does human trafficking show up in our community? And these are the places. So when you look at this slide, and I'll give you a moment, and typically when we do this presentation, as an interactive presentation, we ask people, you know, what's most surprising about those typologies? Are you surprised that there's human trafficking in the health and beauty industry? Are you surprised to hear that there's trafficking in carnivals, forest and lodging, hospitality and hospitals, the medical industry? Polaris Project, which is one of our national leading think tanks on this issue, has identified 25 different industries or typologies of where trafficking shows up. These keep growing as we learn and learn more. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, and certainly does not include everyone's experiences. But I think it's important, again, to look at how does it really look in our community and where does it show up. I think Ohio has identified illicit massage parlors of one of the top, and Linda is nodding and can certainly talk about more, one of the top industries in which we have been able to see this happening, and I think to address it as well. And then we have to also talk about, you know, there's victims and survivors of trafficking. There are also traffickers and there are exploiters. So it's important, and I'm going to just, no, we don't have that slide. Okay. To think about, you know, this triangle of demand, which really contributes to this happening in our communities. So traffickers are the ones who are grooming, exploiting, and selling victims, but there is certainly the user and the people who are looking for this type of sex and this type of labor that they want to purchase. And again, if you look at this slide, we have some data for you here, which also comes from Polaris. You see here some of the top exploiter types listed by labor trafficking and sex trafficking. And when we talk about this slide, one of the things that people are often most shocked and often really gasp when the slide comes up is when they see that sex trafficking is 44% perpetrated in familiar relationships and situations. So again, the myth that trafficking happens by strangers kidnapping individuals is debunked here when we look at the fact that traffickers are people survivors and victims know, love, and trust. Family members, intimate partners, and you see going on way down the list, employers, some side of providers, and then commercial sexual exploitation at the bottom of the list. So again, this is showing us, and I just want to say that these numbers are self-reported by callers who call our national hotline, who are saying this exploitation happened, again, by someone I trusted, by someone that I loved, someone that I considered a friend, a family member, and a trusted entity. So the spectrum of exploitation is from individual low-level traffickers, as we often say, to family, small groups who can be traffickers, all the way to, of course, organized crime, rings and gangs, which is again on the other side of the spectrum. We often don't talk about labor trafficking enough, but I want to uplift this topic as well. And again, you see here that 85% of labor trafficking is exploited or committed by employers themselves. So again, gives us lots to think about and build into our narrative of what trafficking is as we go along. So I am going to sort of wrap up the conversation this morning, give you some time for questions by just saying, okay, you're throwing all this information at us, but now what, right? I talked about the fact that the collaborative to end human trafficking is here to build a smart, coordinated community response to human trafficking in our community. So let's circle back to Alyssa's story, and let's talk about the opportunities we have as a community to intervene. You learned today that trafficking victims and survivors don't self-identify as such. So what we can do as a community is to increase our understanding, our awareness, increase our sphere of influence. Again, you have Anna Becks here. I'll use her as an example because Anna Becks has taken that knowledge and her skills as a nurse and has significantly increased the response to human trafficking patients at Metro Health, right? We need people like Anna. Maya Simic has done the same at the Case Western Reserve Law Clinic. Linda has taken her skills as a prosecutor and now leads the task force, the Human Trafficking Commission at the Ohio Attorney General's. We need people like them to take that knowledge and their skills to increase our community's response. So when we look at Alyssa in her time of trafficking came into contact with many professionals. She came in contact with social workers. She came in contact with doctors and nurses. She came in contact with the food bank, actually. She went to the food bank because she needed resources. All these people had tremendous opportunities to ask Alyssa questions, to give her resources, to help her understand that there is help in our community, and through that trust building, connecting her to other resources. So Alyssa's story reminds us that every professional encounter matters, and with training and education, trauma-informed approaches, not just criminal justice-informed interventions, victims can build the skills, the power, and the tools to end exploitation for themselves. I think one of the most difficult to often understand and challenging things for us is that our job is not to rescue. Our job is not to rescue. Our job is to empower, to listen, to have trauma-informed skills, to offer resources, and to continue to build that coordinated community response of one person after the other who understands how we can best address human trafficking for us here in Cuyahoga County, but of course, statewide and nationwide. So I'm going to leave you with what can you do? For us at the Collaborative, and there will be lots of opportunities for you today to hear about how you can be engaged. And it's almost like every one of you needs to figure that out. Where are your skills? Where's your interest? Where's your passion? Where's your fire coming from, right? But we have opportunities for you to begin. So the Collaborative to End Human Trafficking, as I said, has an hour-and-a-half training that we just did, and elongated versions that you can take to learn more. You can sign up on our website for the Humans Over Human Trafficking campaign. You can take a pledge to become a human over human trafficking. You can host a training. Maybe some of you have other professional networks, workplaces, friendship circles, PTAs, in which you can bring a speaker in to learn more about trafficking. Expand your reach. Tell someone today, tell someone this afternoon what you've learned. Pass on the message of what you know, how your narrative of human trafficking has shifted, and what you understand. Do that. Keep talking to people about it. Lower that threshold of people being really afraid of this thing that we don't fully understand. So host a training and volunteer. Again, many of the organizations here today, I know the Rape Crisis Center and Canopy, have opportunities for volunteering. A beautiful opportunity to volunteer if you're not interested in direct service is become part of our human trafficking awareness activities, become part of our advocacy efforts to strengthen our laws and conditions for survivors. So lots you can do, and I'm sure, again, you'll take a lot of those opportunities away today. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Yes.
Just real quick. Okay, I know we're running a little bit behind schedule, but we want to leave a couple minutes for Q&A, just maybe 2 or 3 1-minute real quick questions. If anyone has a question, you can raise your hand, or you also have index cards in your folders, or you can pick one up in the lobby. If we don't get to your question, please write it down, and we'll make sure that Kirsty or any of our speakers get your question. Just write your question down and your contact information if we don't get to it today. So Stacy has the mic.
Good morning. My name is David Nguyen. I'm with Cleveland Job Corps, and I wanted to find out where does Ohio rank in terms of trafficking?
It's one of those difficult questions to answer, because the more we learn about data, the less we know. I just want to tell you that the data that we have comes extremely siloed from multiple levels. So we have law enforcement data, we have service provider data, we have court data, but all that data is highly siloed, and it's very difficult to make sense of. I do want to say that in Cuyahoga County, we have an effort going on right now through the Cleveland State University Criminology Institute to collect that data and start giving us compiled numbers, but it's difficult. You will hear a number that consistently shows up, which is Ohio is 5th or 6th on the state ranking. And I want to be very clear that this ranking is because of the calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So this means that in Ohio, more people than other states, 5th or 6th, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline for help. And I always want people to hear this. That means that we're doing a good job in Ohio educating people about resources and hotlines and where to get help. It does not mean that we're a state where human trafficking happens more than another. We cannot confidently say that at this point. So, but yes, when it comes to calling the national hotline, we do rank high, And, you know, in some way, that may not be a bad thing because people are reaching out for help. But certainly, it's an issue that is happening here in Ohio. It's happening in Cuyahoga County. It's happening in every neighborhood. And as the year goes by and next year, we will bring you much more data on what it really looks like in Cuyahoga County. Thank you for the question.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm listening, I'm watching the data, I'm listening to your conversation, and I wondered if you could offer some clarity for me for labor trafficking versus sex trafficking. I have personal experience in this area, and what you're presenting has been a very different experience for me. And so I was not aware of work in the workplace. You mentioned you had a listing up there about massage jobs are trafficking people. I just wondered if you could clarify that or speak about that a little more. Did I run on too much? Did I confuse my question? I did?
Yeah.
I confused my question?
No, no, I'm sorry.
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, I'm sorry. I confused my own question.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Well, I would say as far as labor trafficking, I can kind of speak to that because that's been one of my life experiences as a part of being trafficked, is labor trafficking. There was a list, and like Christy said, it's not an exhaustive list, but I experienced it at the age of 11 through hospitality and restaurant employment and different things of that. And when we talk about labor trafficking, I might have been working a job, but I was not in control of my finances, not in control of my money. And the person that trafficked me, they were in control of everything. And it wasn't even until I was an adult that I was able to even understand really the concept of money, the value of money, because I never had control of it. I never knew, you know, what I could do or what I could not do. But there are a lot of individuals that are labor trafficked, where we don't have the exact data because, you know, if you look on social media, there are job offers that people take, and then they find out that it wasn't actually what they thought. And some don't even have their visas or their immigration papers or different things of that nature, and so they get caught up into that the labor trafficking part of that. But we just gave a brief overview of what human trafficking is, you know, with the definition, and so you could get a better grasp of what it is. But actually, you know, there are different types of human trafficking. It's not just the sex trafficking, not just the labor trafficking. There is also familial trafficking. I experienced trafficking in foster care group home settings. So those are, we didn't even scratch the surface of that. And this is why this training is so imperative, so important, so that you can get a better understanding of it and that we can bridge some of the gaps and the loopholes that we are now seeing in this sector as it pertains to human trafficking. So, thank you. Yep.
One more?
Yep, one more.
Good morning. My question has to do with the maximum age. Is there a maximum age on being trafficking?
Are you saying, is there a maximum age of being trafficked? I'm looking at Linda because, not to my knowledge, but we also have the expert here.
Particular age. That's just a myth. We are finding more and more seniors that are coming and they are being labor trafficked and sex trafficked. So we are seeing more and more of that, and so that's one of the things that we need to watch out for when we are out and about in our communities, and especially when it comes to the isolation piece. because that is what traffickers are definitely going to look at when they are wanting to exploit the seniors and those that have disabilities.
Yeah, I think we want to remind ourselves again at this definition, right? It is the exploitation of a human being for someone else's profit. So how is someone else gaining profit from someone's labor or sexual activities, right? So that is the really, when we boil it down, is how is this exploitation happening? And as Linda said, it can happen at any age, at any stage of life. Someone can have these vulnerabilities. And I think these life stages, children certainly are extremely vulnerable. It's just by the fact that they're children. But then as we walk into later stages of life, when we're more dependent on care and other things, that exploitation keeps showing up again. And traffickers do not shy away from these vulnerabilities and exploiting wherever possible.
One other thing that I wanted to share that we didn't go into detail, and I'm sure that someone might speak to it later on during the symposium, is that within 24 hours of a runaway running away, generally they are already approached by a trafficker within the first 24 hours. And that is very, very alarming, but they see the vulnerabilities. And the one thing that we did speak about is that they provide what is missing in a person's life. So it might be housing, clothing, food, shelter, just a safe place to stay. These are how individuals are being exploited. And so it doesn't really have an age range. I was exploited at a very young age, and it went over into adulthood. And for many, they don't even know that they have been human trafficked. I was in my late 40s when I really realized that this actually happened to me, because there was no term such as human trafficking when I experienced those things. So I just wanted to share that with you as well.
Thank you.
Give our speakers a round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break because we're running a little bit behind schedule. So if anybody needs to take a quick break, get a breath of fresh air, go to the restroom, we have ushers to direct you, and we'll come back. Let's say it's 11 o'clock right now. Let's try to get back by 11:05, 11:07. Thank you.
Business Ministry. Okay. Hello, hello, welcome back, welcome back. We're trying to go ahead and get restarted again. I know y'all have a lot of pent-up energy. You've been sitting still and you wanted to get some of that energy out. We absolutely appreciate that. I want to introduce to you next is going to be Sister Jade Soramikam, who will introduce Miss Anna Beck. Where's Anna Bex? Ma'am, are you Mrs. or Miss? Or doctor? Or minister? Mrs. is fine? All right. Sister Jade Soramikam will introduce Mrs. Anna Beck next, and then Sister Stephanie Phelps will be the Q&A moderator. But next, what we're going to have is a blessing of Sister Deandra Stone and the praise dancers will dance to Freedom Song. Brother Brent.
Good morning. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Amen. Let's give him another round of applause. That was beautiful. My name is Jade Sormikan, and I am a member of the Olivet Institutional Social Justice Ministry. I will be introducing Anna Bex. Anna Bex is from Metro Health Forensic Nursing Unit. She is a highly experienced nurse leader with a strong background in emergency and forensic nursing. She immigrated from Belarus, Russia, to the United States in 1990 and credits the TV show Rescue 911 with sparking both her passion for emergency medicine and her journey toward fluency in English. Anna began her healthcare career as an EMT shortly after high school, advanced to paramedic in 2003, and earned her RN in 2016. She holds a BSN from Ohio University and currently serves as forensic unit manager at Metro Health while continuing to work weekends as a bedside nurse in the emergency department. In 2020, Anna discovered her calling in forensic nursing as a sexual assault nurse examiner, recognizing a critical gap in the healthcare system's ability to identify and care for victims of human trafficking. She created and launched a hospital-wide education program on trafficking awareness and red flag identification. Since its implementation, Metro Health has identified more than 80 victims, a dramatic increase from 0 cases prior to the initiative. She became unit manager in 2022. Anna has led a team of 22 forensic nurses and secured grant funding to expand services by hiring specialized nurses trained to identify vulnerable populations. Under her leadership, Metro Health became the first hospital in Ohio to establish a formal position for a survivor of human trafficking, ensuring advocacy and lived experience perspectives are integrated into patient care. Her leadership continues to drive systemic change by advancing care, education, and advocacy for vulnerable populations across the hospital and community. And as in this innovative work has inspired her to pursue a master's degree in nursing leadership, reinforcing her belief that lasting change comes from leaders willing to step forward and take action. Please help me welcome Anna Bex.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. The topic of what I talk about is very heavy. The experiences that I talk about are of the victims and survivors that I've taken care of. So if you need to take a moment for yourself, step out, step back. I will not take it personally. This right here, uh-oh, why is my thing not up? All I see is myself. Oh, there it is. Wait, that's too far. That's the end of apparently. All right, here we go. Okay, I am never without some kind of an adventure. So, this right here is my favorite quote. I use that in every presentation. I heard it a couple years ago during someone else's presentation, and it became my favorite quote. What does that mean? The eyes are useless when the mind is blind. When we are not something, we're never going to recognize it. As children, we are taught this is blue, this is black, this is yellow. We grow up and we recognize those colors. It is the same thing when we talk about human trafficking in the community and in healthcare. My agenda for today is to teach you what to look out for, not just in healthcare, but what to look out for within your community, okay? So where do we encounter victims? We encounter them everywhere. Believe it or not, we encounter them in the corrections. How do we encounter them in corrections? Why? I have had a victim tell me, a survivor tell me, I got myself arrested on purpose. Why does somebody want to be arrested on purpose? I asked her. And she said, because that was my vacation. Because as long as I was in jail, I had 3 meals a day, I had a safe roof, nobody was beating me, nobody was tying me down, and nobody was sexually assaulting me. So you know what we did? I knocked on the door at the county. I knocked on their door at the jail and I said, hey, guess what? Have you guys heard about human trafficking? And the officer's like, what are you talking about? And I said, let me educate you. Give me 30 minutes. Instead, they said, we'll give you an hour. Within the first 6 months of me doing the education, we identified 4 women in the county corrections. Last year, we identified 3 more. And this year, we're up to 4 girls identified. This is what education does for us. There was a study done, and it was 130 survivors. And if you look, the major group that enters human trafficking is between the ages of 14 to 15. That's the biggest age group. Why? What is the #1 vulnerability you've heard talk about? Andrea even said it. Runaway teens. They typically run away around the age of 13, 14, and 15. Makes them that much more vulnerable. But if you look at the very bottom, I'm like so discombobulated because I'm looking over there and you guys are looking this way. If you look at the very bottom, there is what, 4.5% that are under the age of 10. What does that mean? Who is doing the trafficking? The family. Because the family has access to the victims, right? It is easy to do that when they are right there. And this is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. There are 4 stages to exploitation. Number one stage is they have to find their target, figure out who is it that they want to exploit, what vulnerabilities does that person have. Then they become friends. Then we call it the loving stage, and you heard Christy talk about it, you heard Andrea talk about it. It's that loving relationship of, we're gonna be best friends. And then the exploitation starts. Interesting enough, we see movies and we hear people talk about, I met a man, I met a boy. In that movie that you watched earlier, she talks about, I thought I was gonna be his wife. But what if I told you that that exploitation doesn't have to happen from an older male? That you can be easily introduced to the world of human trafficking by your own peer. I took care of a young lady in her teens, and she met her trafficker through her best friend in high school, because her high school friend was the one that was being trafficked, and she was forced to bring home another girl, right? So don't think that you're strictly looking for an older person. Somebody who's being exploited can be at any age, and they can be forced to do anything. The 3 keys to exploitation is accessibility. How accessible are kids on social media? How accessible is a person of any age when they are homeless, in a shelter, domestic violence, foster care system, right? How accessible was my 16-year-old girl at the age of 14 to her classmate? They saw each other every day, right? What about the factor of credibility? What do you think about credibility? How credible is a 14-year-old child who is run away from home, has a diagnosis of defiance disorder, has been to juvenile detention center, who's going to believe them when they come in and they say, oh yeah, that person did this, this, and this to me? Do we believe them? No, we don't. We're like, what are you talking about? You were just on the streets. You just want a different home. You just want us to move you from home to home because you didn't like the rules of this home. Right? What about a person with mental health problem? An adult walks in and tells us a crazy story that you're like, not even Steven Spielberg can write this. Because that's what we hear, right? They come in sometimes with suicidal ideation. What does that mean? They hurt themselves, they harm themselves, but not enough to hurt them, but just enough that their pimp has to call 911 because they are bleeding and they're hurt. That is their escape plan, but what do we do in healthcare? We often don't see that. We see a person, oh, this person has a history of harming themselves. This is just another episode of depression, so we throw pills at them instead of listening to them. I heard a testimony of a young lady. That's what happened to her. And she was at the hospital, and she told the hospital staff, I wasn't really trying to kill myself. I was just trying to run away from my boyfriend. And when they told her, well, if you're not suicidal, you don't need to be here. And they threw her back on the street. And she spent the next 3 months in homeless shelters, and then the winter was coming, and she didn't know what to do. So one day, she walked into a church. You're gonna think that I'm making the story up, I promise you I'm not. It's a real person, and she said she walked into a church, and because she had never been into that church, it was so cold outside, it was winter, and she said that the priest, whoever was in there, he recognized her as somebody that was not part of their parish, and he came up and talked to her, and he heard her story, and he said, I'm gonna help you, because he felt something was off. Most often than not, our gut instinct is what we need to trust. It's there for a reason. He trusted his instinct, and now she's a survivor. She's somebody who goes out and teaches other people just like me. That's what we need more of. Now, when we talk about vulnerabilities, we started to talk about some of the vulnerabilities and those gaps that Andrea mentioned earlier. How many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? A lot of you, fantastic. Means I have to do less teaching. So this is a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's supposed to be a pyramid, but it looked prettier this way. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs teaches us that as human beings, we most often desire primarily air, food, water, shelter. Once those needs are met, we require more. We want a sense of safety, a sense of belonging, a sense of love. So each time we have a vulnerability that is met, we now want something higher, right? So when we talk about 14, 15-year-old kids who are from homes where they don't have love, where do you think they're gonna look for that? On social media. If I am 15 years old or even 20 years old and I don't have a home because I live in poverty, what do you think my primary focus is? I need shelter. I want a safe place to sleep tonight. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've seen you before in this shelter. I have a really safe house where I help women and children like yourself. Guess what I'm gonna say? Okay, yeah. Hey, I have a couple of dollars. I can go buy you a cheeseburger if you wanna come with me. And if I haven't eaten for a couple of days, what do you think I'm gonna do? Those are the vulnerabilities that we have to fulfill at home and in the community before our children are looking outside of the community. That is one of the things that I teach the most. Social media. This is called the Dirty Dozen list. This is the top 24, but there's a lot more than that. But this is just the top 24. What do you think is the #1 social media to recruit kids that are before they're teenagers, so pre-teenagers? Roblox is #1. What do you think it is for teenagers? No, believe it or not, Discord. because this court has open channels, open rooms that you can go in and out and talk. Here is the other half. So this is Carolyn. She's actually a professor at CSU. She's our friend, and she allows us to share her story. Her daughter, Courtney, unfortunately did not survive the life in human trafficking. She passed away in January of 2023 due to the life of human trafficking, but she actually met her trafficker within the healthcare system. Unfortunately, she was in a mental health institution, which is a vulnerability in its own, and unfortunately the trafficker was also in there recruiting girls. So which is why I take it so seriously when I teach healthcare providers, you need to pay attention to who's paying attention to whom within your group sessions. So this is another list. This is just, it literally tells you what apps are used for what and how they are used. How many of you have heard of Tinder? Okay. Did you know that there is Tinder for teenagers? Yeah, it's called Wiz, W-I-Z-Z. So the lowest age category, you just have to be 13 years old to sign up. But there is no upper age category, so you can be 30, 40, or even 50 signed up on that app. I presented twice already to a high school. 80% of the class was on that app, not even realizing that there are predators out there, which is why we need to teach our kids in our community. When we talk about drugs and human trafficking and how they intersect, you can buy anything on the internet. So this is from the DEA. These are emojis used to describe a drug, that you can order drugs, you can order a human being that way. And what you do is you go online, you select an app, you select a person who you're buying from, you select what you want via emojis, and then you go and you pay via Zelle or via Venmo or Cash App. It's all anonymous, and it gets delivered to you, whether it is a human being or whether it is a drug. That is how the human trafficking intersects a lot with the substance use disorder. Now, this is a very interesting topic right here. This is a group that started on Discord called 764. It is decentralized. It is all over the world. And do you know who started it? A 16-year-old boy in Texas. This poor child, and I say that a child because he's 16, he was bullied so bad in his 11, 12, 13 years that by 13, he had already been in prison or juvenile detention. And by 16, he already had such a mental health disorder that he decided to start his own hate group. But the problem with this group is that it's open to public. Nobody knows what it is until you're already in it. And how they get you is they talk to you. They target vulnerable population. Who is our vulnerable population online? Kids who are introverts, kids who are shy, kids who have a problem socializing, right? Kids who have body dysmorphia, our LGBTQ community, they're all vulnerable kids. So what do? They become friends with them. And then they say, hey, to show trust in each other, I'm gonna share a risky photo of myself. We all know that it's AI, but our children don't know that. So what do you think happens? Well, I'm gonna need you to share one with me. So when I, as a child, say, oh, okay, well, he trusted me, I trust him. And then guess what happens? The exploitation starts. If you don't do what I'm asking you to do, I'm going to send out your picture to the media. And the exploitation doesn't have to be sexual. You heard earlier, it can be labor. It can be harming yourself. It can be harming other people. It is committing acts of violence. The group actually is started because of a group called the CVL. That's actually the kid from Texas. He is in jail currently. They were able to catch him and put him in jail. But his beliefs are of a group, basically he followed a group called CVLT, which is started by another person, an adult, out in Canada. So I'm gonna show you right here. These are some of the groups that are like spin-offs. This is how many of them there are, which is why the FBI, I actually met with them. She's an agent from FBI, and she was asking me to look out for kids who are coming in, harming themselves, or they're carving themselves, because these groups are asking kids to carve themselves, like with a knife, and they're asking for proof of self-harm. So pay attention within your community, kids that are all of a sudden harming themselves or harming other people or changing their behavior, because there's usually something that's happening that you may not be aware of. When we talk about the recruitment process, it's no different than human trafficking. They target you, they become friends with you, and then the exploitation starts. Now, these are just some of the pictures from their online media that I found. You don't even want to know what my search history looks like. It's bad. I'm surprised the FBI isn't knocking on my door. These are just some of the arrests throughout the world that have been made. And you saw how many groups there are out there, and look at how many little arrests have been made. Because it is extremely hard to find somebody when they're decentralized, when they're not in one place, when they're all over the world. And so teaching our kids these things is how we stop them. We teach our kids, this is what you need to look out for. When we talk about sextortion, how many of you are aware of sextortion? Quite a bit of you. Perfect. Sextortion is just another window into the world of exploitation. And the ICAG basically states that sextortion is using someone's privileged pictures to exploit them in either labor or sex trafficking. So the idea is that it is the fastest form of exploitation, especially for children, but you know what? It's also the most preventable. It's teaching our kids, we know our kids are gonna be on social media. It's teaching them the safety of social media. It's teaching them, what does grooming look like, right? What does it look like if somebody is trying to groom you or somebody is an actual real person in life? So when we talk about the grooming process, when we teach our children, we need to teach them, if somebody is asking you for your personal information and you've never met them, that is a red flag, right? You shouldn't be giving that unless you're giving it to your parents. Your parents are the only ones that should have access to you. If somebody is asking for your address or where do you live because they want to send you a card, nope, I don't know you, I've never met you. I am ashamed to say that my father is one of those people that trusts everybody. He got a phone call because he won a lottery and he gave somebody their bank information. And I said, how did you win a lottery if you never played the lottery? Right? But our elders become our children sometimes. So we don't just have to teach our children, we have to teach our adults too, and ourselves. If somebody is asking you to send in a risky picture, we have to teach our kids, you don't send those pictures. You are beautiful as you are, and you don't need somebody to validate your beauty. That is a vulnerability our teenagers have. That is the biggest vulnerability that our teenagers have, right? What does it look like if your child is being exploited? All of a sudden, your child used to ask you for money to play games. You know, you buy coins or whatever it is. I've never played those games. But I know you have to buy coins, and they always bug you about, Mama, can I have $10? Mama, can I have $5? And you always say no. and then all of a sudden your child stops asking for money, but yet they're able to play the game? Where did you get that money from, right? If your grandma gave it to you, great, fantastic. But if somebody sent it to you, that's a problem, right? Who sent it to you? How do you know who is sending it to you? If somebody is asking you to go meet them somewhere, nope, I can't meet you. I can meet you with my mama. I can meet you with our friends. The number one thing that we have to teach our kids is that they have to be able to trust us. Yeah, we might be angry at first, but we're always going to stand behind you. That's what we need to teach our kids. We have to find out what the vulnerability of our children are, and then we have to fill them before somebody else fills it in for us, right? This is a prime example. This is a really sad case. I've actually met James's parents in one of their symposiums. I'm sure you guys remember the story. He was high school football. He also did football and track. And unfortunately, he fell prey to an online dating site. And he thought he was talking to a girl. They did have multiple video chatting with each other, FaceTime, but what he didn't realize is that he was chatting with AI. Because AI has gotten so good at it, it's really hard to see. During those AI video chats, she exposed herself to show him that she trusts him. And she said, now it's your turn to show me that you trust me. What he didn't realize is that she recorded the whole thing of what he did. And then within minutes, he was spammed with over 1,000 messages. You owe me $100, you owe me $300, or I'm gonna send it to your teammates, I'm gonna send it to your church, I'm gonna send it to your school. Within weeks, he was so overwhelmed, he became withdrawn, and the parents didn't realize it because what did they think? Finals are coming up, he's got an event coming up, he is stressed out. They miss the signs. They will tell you that themselves. When I heard them, they say, I wish that he felt safe to come and talk to us. Because what the predators did is they said that your parents are going to be ashamed of you. They put that manipulation into him that he took his own life. So the parents now, they do have an online presence. I think it's called the James Foundation. You can Google it. And they do go to high schools and they do talk to high school kids from the perspective of parents of what they wish the teenagers to know, that while we as parents sometimes will yell and scream and have our little moment of panic, in the very end, we still love our children and we will protect them at all costs, right? So, human trafficking, red flags, thank you. In the community, in healthcare, when I teach about red flags, I talk about if somebody comes into our facility and they do not have any documentation whatsoever, well, where's your driver's license? Oh, my boyfriend has it because he tells me that I lose my stuff all the time and, well, he won't let me have it. Well, that's kind of a little bit of a red flag, right? He has my passport. He holds on to my money. Those are the things we see in healthcare, but those are the things you might see in the community too. How many of you have worked with the homeless population? We all have. And let me tell you, every single person who is experiencing homelessness, especially in our area, they know every location of every shelter. They know what shelter has the best soup on what day, what bus stop and how many buses they need to take to their shelter. So when I sometimes ask them, what shelter do you stay at? Oh, I don't know, it's the one in Cleveland. Honey, we are in Cleveland. Which one? I don't know, I'm new to Cleveland. For me, that's a red flag. Because at the very basic knowledge, every person knows where they stay. Oh, I stay at the hotel. We just came from Columbus. Great, what hotel do you stay at? I don't know, it's the one on 65th. And I'm like, there is no hotel on 65th, right? But they are trained and they are coerced into giving us a story that sounds believable, and their pimp is usually right there with them. So a lot of times it's really hard for us to talk to them, but we figure out a way, because when there's a will, there is a way. And we figured this out in healthcare already. When we talk about the indications, how many of you are here from in healthcare? A few of you work in healthcare. Pay attention to your young ladies. Because guess what? They're not coming into my hospital with a sexual assault. They're coming in with substance use disorder. They're coming in with mental health. They're coming in with sexually transmitted infections. They're coming in with possible pregnancies, possible miscarriages. That's what they're coming in for. They're coming in for a possible assault. I have had girls come in as a car accident. Why a car accident? How did we recognize them? Because in the chart, we saw that she had mental health, she had substance use disorder, and she was in and out of the hospital every couple of weeks for either a sexually transmitted infection or she was there for some kind of an assault. That raised a red flag for us. And we came in and we talked to her, and guess what? The reason she was there for a car accident is because she jumped out of a moving vehicle, because she saw an opportunity to get away from him, and for her, breaking bones was worth it. And she was very reluctant on wanting to testify, wanting to get help. So guess what we did? We brought in an advocate, a survivor, somebody who walked in through that tunnel already and who came out on the other side of that tunnel. And through hard work and through friendship and building a rapport, that girl wound up testifying against her pimp. That's what means that when the community has eyes wide open. We don't have a lot of those stories, but my goal is to have a lot more of those successes than when the victims are too scared to testify. So pay attention when you are working with a certain population. When somebody walks into your church and they're new and they look like they've been through the ringer, probably they're looking for help, they're looking for safety. Give them that safety. I'd rather you give them that safety than somebody else on the street pretend to give them their safety, right? That's what we're here for. What to look out for in your neighborhood. What if there is a house and all of a sudden there's multiple people in and out, and you're not even recognizing because next month somebody else moves in or somebody else moves in. Multiple cars throughout the night. What if you happen to work in hospitality and you walk into a room, in a hotel room? This is what a lot of times we teach police officers or even EMS, paramedics. We had paramedics respond to a call to a hotel for an imminent delivery of a baby. And guess what? It turned out that it was a hotel that had 3 girls who were being trafficked in that hotel. One of them just happened to have a baby. So this is what we teach our neighborhood to look out for. Look out for a lot of unnecessary traffic that you normally don't see, because guess what? You all live in this area, you know your neighbors. So when something is new, something's off, pay attention to that. There's nothing wrong with making a phone call. Better be safe than sorry. That is my motto, right? So why don't victims ask for help? A lot of the times it's fear. A lot of the times they don't have their documentation. And a lot of the times they are moved around so much that they don't have time to build a relationship. And it's not so much fear for themselves. It's fear that they're being coerced. You can go ahead and run away. You heard in the movie, what did he say? Not that I will find you, but he told her in the end, it's not you I'm going to harm. It's the people you love I'm going to harm. So a lot of the times they stay for themselves because I know where your mama lives, I know where your kids are. I had a young lady who I told her, I have a house for you, I have a safe place for you, let me help you. And you know what she said? Not yet. You know why not yet? Because he had her kids in a different location. And she said, I promise you, when he lets me see my kids, I will come. 4 months go by, I don't hear from her, all I can do is pray. Guess what? Thanksgiving comes around and I get a phone call. Anna, do you remember me? Of course I remember you. Where are you? I'm on the 55th and St. Clair, and I got my kids and we don't have clothes. I don't know where to go. I'm like, hang up the phone, call 911 and have them bring you to my hospital. I am in my office waiting for you. Just because we are ready for them, thank you. I always remind everyone that I teach, just because we are ready for them, it does not mean that they're ready for us. But what we can do is be there for them when they are ready. Does that make sense? And just remember, a lot of times, like previously said, that they're not necessarily seeing themselves as victims because they don't realize that they are. They are scared, they're manipulated, so we just need to love upon them and instill that we are trying to help them, that we're not trying to manipulate them. We let them lead the way. And then this is the same thing as like right over here. This is how to get a hold of our local human trafficking task force. If you call the national hotline, it takes them about 3 weeks to notify our local department. So dial the 216 number, and it actually calls right here in Cuyahoga County. And our officers respond within usually officers call me within 15 minutes. Okay? Questions, concerns? Anybody need a drink? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Anna Bex, thank you so much for your compassion, your just professionalism, and sharing these stories of impact. Anna will not, I understand, be able to stay with us for the entirety of the program, and so...
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay, that's what I was told.
Oh, that was Christy. That was Christy. Oh, okay. You send me the questions.
Okay, let me just explain. We didn't have you on the panel, but we do have questions that were submitted in advance.
Yeah, I can
So that's
answer
what
them.
we want to ask you. But you're more than welcome to stay for the panel if you'd like.
No,
So
I
we're
can
not
answer.
kicking you out.
I can answer them.
Glad we got that all straightened out. So we do have 4 questions that were submitted in advance. And the first one is, I'm an educator and mother. I am not aware of how to identify if someone is being trafficked. What are typical indicators that you may not have already talked about?
So if she's in school and there are kids there, one of the things that you look out for is changes in behavior. Sometimes somebody who's super outgoing all of a sudden becomes super quiet. They're not able to look you in the eye. There's that shame, a little bit of that behavior. If all of a sudden their clothes change, normally they don't wear designer clothes, all of a sudden they wear designer clothes, or they show up with a brand new phone and you know that their family can't afford a brand new phone. It's usually because somebody else buys it for them, or they have multiple cell phones. A lot of the times the girls are forced to carry multiple cell phones, so pay attention to things like that within the school system, especially for somebody who's an educator.
Okay. And the next question is, how can healthcare institutions assist with identifying and mitigating human trafficking?
And that is something that I started in 2022 with Kristen Hess. She is our Office of Opiate Safety nurse, and me and her started educating the entire hospital system unit by unit. So with each unit that we go to, we tailor it. If it's an ICU, we talk about things that an ICU nurse may see. If it is an ambulatory clinic, we talk about things that an ambulatory clinic can see. I will be more than happy to talk to whoever asked that question and help you, show you what my education looks like, and then you can start one within your facility. But it has been very helpful in our facility.
Okay, this next question I find very interesting myself, and that is, what are the effects on a woman's body who's been sex trafficked and the ability to have children?
Oh my goodness. It depends on the trauma that a woman's body sustains. A woman's body is made to withhold a lot, right? I mean, there are women that are able to have 20 children without any issues, and then there are women who are able to have one child and life happens and they're unable to have multiple children. But as a general rule, a sexual assault, violent or nonviolent, can cause trauma to the pelvic floor. It can cause trauma to the muscle tissue. I have a lot of women post-sexual assault that do see therapy. We do have a sexual health clinic at Metro. I'm pretty sure Cleveland Clinic does too. I just happen to know Metro's. They work with women post-sexual assault, physically and psychologically. A lot of the times, post-sexual assault, post-trauma, women aren't able to have a healthy relationship. So there's a psychological portion, not just physiological and physical. There's mental. We have to worry about substance use disorder. We have to worry about malnutrition. So there's a lot that goes into the care post-assault, post the life of human trafficking. But we collaborate with the community, and we also have a really nice team within the Metro system. And believe me, if I don't have it, I'm going to call other hospitals to say, hey, do you have this person on your team that can help me with my survivor?
Okay, and then the last question, and I think it is somewhat related, what are the gynecological aspects of human trafficking?
So the gynecological, the biggest one that we see is the sexually transmitted infections. Unfortunately, some of them that are untreated, if they go untreated, they can cause a woman to not be able to have children. So that's one of the issues, but it can also become a systemic infection. It can kill a woman. So a lot of the times we do see, unfortunately, women come in and they're very, very sick. We have to admit them for antibiotics through the IV versus just giving them a pill because it has become a systemic issue, health issue. Yeah. Yep. Well, they took my thing off. But I did share my slides with Denise. I'm sure she'll be able to print it out for you. The last 4 pages are strictly just resources that we have, and I'm sure Denise will be able to print it out for you.
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that we did have these questions that were pre-submitted. So in this case, we are not taking questions from the floor, and we'll have Reverend King come up and talk about what is next, which is our lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, before we break for lunch, a couple things, because like I was saying earlier, we are running a little bit behind on our schedule. And I know that Anna's talk was so engaging and inspiring, and I know people have questions. So Anna will be with us for the rest of the day. We can write down your questions on the index cards you have. If you don't have an index card, one of the ushers will make sure you get one, or there's some out in the vestibule, and you can write your questions down. And we're gonna ask Anna if she wants to sit on our panel. Do we want Anna to sit on our panel? Okay, and then also before we bless the food and break for lunch, we're gonna have Pastor Colvin come back up.
What a very powerful morning, very powerful morning. I just want to hear from the audience, just want to hear a quick poll in one word, and you can just say it out loud. One word, what are you hearing? What are you feeling? Yeah. One word. One word. Thank you. Thank you. What we do here as a part of our ministry in the ministry of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is a ministry that we do as a response to our faith. Everything that we do as a result of our response of what Christ has done for us. We're going to be getting prepared for our lunch, and I want to again, and I want you to join me in thanking our coordinators, our committee, our social justice ministry for making this happen. We do this through our tithes and our offering. We didn't seek a grant from the state. We didn't seek a grant from the county. We didn't seek this through any means other than the regular, consistent, considerate giving of our congregation. I say that because we are about to go into lunch, and the lunch is a lunch that has been prepared for you, been prepared for those who even did not register, so we have more than enough. And if we don't have enough, Deacon Lucy and I will go out in the back, take 2 fish, 5 loaves of bread, we'll pray over it, and then we'll figure something out. But in the middle of your tables, you will see a sheet with a QR code to our giving website. And so we invite you, as the Lord leads you, if you'd like to contribute to this effort to help us in any way, you're certainly welcome to do so. You're not required to do so. But as the Lord leads you, no small contribution is too little. So with that, I want to turn it over back into the hands of Reverend King to give us further instructions. Amen? Amen.
Thank you, sir. I've seen them eyes before. There's a time when I used to drive a 18-wheeler. I drove in Little Rock, Arkansas. The truck broke down about 1 a.m. Truck was taken to a shop. I had to go to a motel. 2 days later, when I got up to go get my truck, I went to the front desk to make the payment of those 2 nights. And there was a lady who stood there, and she had those eyes. That was 25 years ago, and I still remember that. I being me, I just thought maybe she was afraid of me. Maybe she was scared of me or something. I never met her. I never seen her. I didn't know her. So I thought maybe it was something she might have been scared. You know, a big black guy that walked in, you know, and sometimes my voice could carry. I could get excited. So, but she stared at me, and everybody was picking receipts and doing this, but she just stood there and stared at me into my eyes, deep into my soul. She had something to say, but she didn't say it. I didn't know what she said. I thought she was scared of me. So I left, but now with the encouragement I have with Mrs. Beck here to be able to have that experience again, that it may be okay to ask somebody, are you okay? So I feel encouraged today. Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this food that your hands have prepared, that it will be strength and nourish our bodies, that we may be able to continue to serve you and enjoy the rest of the day, to learn and uplift one another, not to be bogged down with the depression of it, but to be able to be encouraged and lifted up of the strength of it, the love that you have for us, dear God. These things we ask you, dear God, amen.
Reverend King, what time are we returning?
A trick question, Pastor. Sister Denise, the boss, where is she?
What time are we returning?
Because the time has changed. Where is she at? I'm lost with her.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock sounds good, Pastor. Pastor says we're back here at 1 o'clock.
Final session, 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Amen?
Yes, thank you.